I'm Linda Hirsch.
I'm Jim Carney, and this is EdCast, a program created and produced by educators for everyone interested in education.
For many high school seniors and their families, getting into a selective, prestigious college can become an obsession, one that may start as early as grade school. Some students, however, are seeking out and turning to a new alternative, the Honors College. These colleges exist within universities and offer a unique educational experience to the extra qualified and exceptionally motivated. Today we'll discuss these colleges with a special focus on CUNY's highly regarded Macaulay Honors College, right here in New York City.
Later on, I'll visit with a graduate of an honors program who currently assists students to get into these programs and guide them through their college years. But we begin with Linda and her guest in the studio.
My guest today is Ann Kirschner, Dean of the Macaulay Honors College in CUNY. Hi, welcome to EdCast.
Thank you very much.
Us. Recently, U.S. News & World Report issued its college rankings, once again fueling the frenzy that people have about the best colleges. But a recent piece in the New York Times pointed to an alternative to this high-priced version of college, and that is the Honors College. So can you tell us a little bit about an honors college and what it is and why students should consider it?
Absolutely. I was so happy to see that New York Times piece, and suddenly I got phone calls from people who said, oh, so that's what you do. So an honors college is a special program usually within a public institution. And its specialness derives from the fact that it selects a group of students for their academic potential, gives them an enriched curriculum, sometimes some special benefits, and yet all of that is happening within the context of a large public institution. So that's what the honors colleges of today are really all about.
Now, what kind of student would go to an honors college?
A very smart one,
okay.
A very well-prepared student, a very ambitious student, one for whom certain considerations might be reduced tuition or staying close to home, or the idea of going to a public institution with all the diversity and energy of a large public institution, and yet with some of the special characteristics that you would really associate more with a small liberal arts college than with a large public institution.
CUNY has its own honors college, the Macaulay Honors College. Tell us a little about Macaulay, when it began, where is it located?
CUNY began what was then known as CUNY Honors College in 2001, and actually today being September 11th, we commemorate that day, and actually the Honors College began just within a few days of September 11th. And so in the shadow of that tragedy came together this program that selected a group of very well-prepared high school applicants who were accepted into the Honors College and received all those characteristics I said before, special benefits, special advising, and a special curriculum, and yet they were very much students within the City University of New York.
So let's talk about the structure of Macaulay, which I think is unusual because of the nature of the City University. Tell us about where Macaulay is situated and where students attend classes.
There's not another honors college in the country that is structured like ours.
Okay.
And that's fitting because there's no other city like New York and there's no other university like the City University. So with all those, absolutely, absolutely, 24 actually.
24 actually,
yes.
Wow, okay.
So the 8 senior colleges of the City University, and I won't try and name them all because I'll stumble over one and then they won't forgive me. But the 8 senior colleges of the City University all have cohorts of students who attend Macaulay. And the students apply specifically to Macaulay, and they designate one of the campuses as the one that they would like to have sort of as their home campus. If they were interested particularly in engineering, for instance, they would be most likely to gravitate towards City College. If they were interested in business and finance, it would be most likely Baruch. And you get the picture. So they
pick a home campus. What are some of the requirements for students to be selected?
Well, the class of 2019, and I just welcomed them at orientation right here at Lehman a few weeks ago. They are 548 students, and again, they are placed at one of those 8 campuses. And their grade point average was 93.8 was the average grade point average. I could talk about SAT scores, but I think that's a less interesting factor. So they are all tops in their high schools in one way or another, and they come from all over the city. Yes, they come from the usual suspects, from Bronx Science and Stuyvesant and Staten Island Tech and Brooklyn Tech, but we really go very, very deep, not only into New York City, but into New York State, because this is a New York State program.
Let's take a look at the Macaulay Honors Program right here at Lehman College.
Being a student at Macaulay Honors College at Lehman College is a voyage of discovery. Students experience New York City, one of the cultural capitals of the world, to link their academic study to New York's artistic, scientific, and business communities. At Lehman, Macaulay Honors College students take required interdisciplinary seminars and also receive study grants for research outside the classroom, study abroad opportunities, and graduate and professional advising. All of these advantages help students explore more of the city of New York, the backdrop and emphasis of the Honors College program. The program emphasizes student and faculty interaction, and each seminar uses the city of New York for primary research. One of these seminars, The Peopling of New York, investigates the role of immigration and migration in shaping New York City's identity, past, present, and future.
We see the grid, absolutely.
We see the beginnings of Robert Moses' idea.
Well, we see the beginnings of what Gonzalez talks about, right, in her book about the Bronx, in terms of the transportation developments and the economic development being so important to bringing the Bronx into New York City.
Well, this is one of 4 seminars that the students take in their first 2 years. Each of them focuses on a different aspect of New York City. So this one is largely the history and immigration in New York.
Lehman's Macaulay Honors College students are also expected to study abroad, and funding makes it possible.
I went to London for a winter, first winter I was here, winter session, and the second session I went to Japan. I went to Tokyo and Hiroshima and Kyoto. And those kind of experiences, that's something I used to look up to and look forward to when I was in high school, but never really thought was possible for me until I came here. And it was just an amazing, incredible experience to be able to be in a different culture and immerse yourself in the food, the music, the clothing, I mean just everything, the lifestyle. It was just very different, and I loved it.
The Cultural Passport is another benefit that Honors College students receive, granting them free or discounted admission to many of New York's cultural landmarks. Professor Gary Schwartz is the director of Macaulay Honors College at Lehman, as well as the Lehman Scholars Program. He finds great satisfaction as students are recognized for their achievements.
We have 2 students who have just gotten both into NYU Law School, and one of them has gotten into Yale Law School. I think that's a really great statement about Lehman and Macaulay and how things work together.
And sometimes there's an internal deadline because if some of these scholarships, each institution may nominate only.
One of the ways students can continue their education after Macaulay is with a prestigious scholarship.
One of the reasons we put together our prestigious scholarship website, because in some campus websites, all of the scholarships are mixed together, and there's no distinction made between the Smith Family Foundation scholarship for $200 and the $30,000 for 6 years that the Cook Foundation will give you. And I should give the website address, www.cuny.edu/prestigious. Website has summaries of about 30 scholarships and fellowships, most of them nationally competitive. Several of them are just local and pertain only to CUNY students or to just New York students. But in general, they're for graduate study in general, although some are for undergraduate study.
Macaulay Honors College students receive full tuition for 4 years and a laptop computer. They also receive a study grant of up to $7,500 to support experiences such as study abroad and internships. Many of the students already know what they want to do once they graduate from the Honors College.
I want to go into the museum art world. I am thinking about a museum education. I want to save the world through the arts, and that's my goal. I want to work with children, but I'm not sure quite in what area, either in research for classroom learning methods or actually clinical. I haven't decided yet.
I'm actually in the process of getting certified as a math teacher. So currently I have an internship in high school. So I work with 12th graders and math, and I work with the teacher closely and basically kind of getting a feel for what it's going to be like once I start teaching.
I plan on taking the CPA exam and eventually becoming a certified public accountant and working in an accounting company.
In the course of completing their studies, Macaulay Honors College students at Lehman become world travelers, scholars, and researchers, with the tools and perspective necessary to achieve their goals. Mariella Cherry, Inside Lehman.
What do you see as some of the advantages in attending an honors college that is part of a university instead of going to a private college?
If you believe that your preparation for life will be enhanced by attending the school where the person next to you might be a returning veteran or might be a single mother struggling to make ends meet, as well as 18-year-olds who are straight out of high school, if the diversity of a great public urban institution appeals to you, then that's a first threshold. The second threshold is the idea of a small liberal arts program within the City University of New York, where you will receive the sort of advising and enriched curriculum that you would find more in a private liberal arts college.
Let's go to that curriculum for a minute. Although students take many courses on their home campus, they also come down to Macaulay itself. What kinds of courses do they take at Macaulay?
Special seminars. We have Professor Petraeus returning for his third year as a faculty member at Macaulay, as well as cross-campus versions of the 4 seminars that make up the core curriculum of Macaulay. And those focus all on New York City through the arts and culture of New York City, immigration and the peopling of New York, science and technology, and public policy, the future of New York. So we have cross-campus seminars that are versions of what you would have on the campus, only it wouldn't only be the students from that one campus.
So they get to meet.
And then faculty propose, and we invite faculty to propose special senior seminars or other special topics. We had a course last year on zombies, an ever interesting subject. We have an enriched sort of extra special humanities course. That's our Hertog Scholars Program that's taught at the Macaulay Center. And it's also the Student Center. So all of our clubs, our a cappella group, our medical brigades group, they all meet at Macaulay.
So there's a lot going on there.
It's a teaming center. It's a campus in a box in a relatively one small building.
What are the ways that you've been measuring the success of the Honors College?
Well, it's interesting. You know, you mentioned U.S. News and World Reports at the outset. What they look at are the incoming metrics. I frankly think those are sort of boring and not the way I would ever want to be measured. I think the way to measure the success of Macaulay Honors College is the outcomes. What has happened to our students? So we might look at things like, do they go on to graduate school? Well, 60% of them do. Where do they go? Wherever they want. I was up in Boston meeting with a group of alums. 13 of them, this was in the winter, and 13 of the 13, 7 of them were at Harvard. And I don't bring up Harvard because I have Harvard envy, far from it. Instead, just to say that if you start at CUNY, you can go to Harvard Law School and Harvard Medical School, and those schools are open to you. So to me, the most important measure is where do our students work, where do they study, what are their choices, the fact that we've had 2 Rhodes Scholars in the last 5 years, not to mention about 25 Fulbrights and winners of other prestigious fellowships. The word has gotten out there that I think we've really changed the dialogue about CUNY and its students.
I want to bring up I know you're aware of some of the criticisms that are leveled against honors colleges in general, and that is that too much is lavished on too few. You mentioned some of the benefits. Of course, people are saying that why is such a small select group getting all those benefits? What's your response to that?
My response to that is public education is for the public. The public comes in lots of different sizes and needs. And to me, what attracted to me to CUNY from the outset was the idea of this enormous institution that serves everybody, from students for whom the K-12 system has been a failure and they need tremendous help, right up to the student who wants to study astrophysics or the student who needs an enriched curriculum. So everything from the certificate programs and the associate's degrees right up to the Honors College and the PhD programs, that is the spectrum of what CUNY offers to the public of New York. And I believe that's our job.
Okay, so you see this as being part of that spectrum.
I do.
Okay, let me just go back to something you mentioned. That was the associate students. Another concern that people have is that community college students could certainly benefit from some kind of an honors experience. I know the new president of Hostos has recently said something like, we don't receive honors students, but we may create them. And is there some way that you can think of, or is there some way that community college students could partake of the honors experience?
So I'll say two things about that. The first is that CUNY is, Macaulay is one of many honors programs and colleges. Well, it's the only honors college at CUNY, but there are many honors programs at all of the campuses. Right here at Lehman, you have the Lehman Scholars Program as well as the Macaulay group at Lehman. That's the first thing. The second thing is it has been my secret dream for many years to offer a transfer path into Macaulay. It was never designed that way. It was designed as a program for first-time college freshmen. We are working on a program like that now, and maybe you'll invite me back another time to your program where we can talk about some of those programs. Okay. It was one of the provosts at one of the community colleges years ago when I first came to CUNY who said to me, every student at CUNY should dream of going to Macaulay, including and perhaps especially the community college students. And I've kept that dream very close to me for all the years that I've been here, and I believe that dream will come true.
And they would like to be a part of that experience. I know that there are many students. Do you have a favorite Macaulay story that you want to share with us?
A favorite Macaulay story? Sure. I have many. Let me think about the students who had a burning passion for chemistry, who was from an immigrant family. His immigrant status was, shall we say, uncertain, and his dream was to be a pharmacist. And I remember talking to him and saying, you know, your eyes glisten when you talk about chemistry. Are you sure you want to be a pharmacist? No insult meant to pharmacy, but perhaps there are other ways of looking at that passion that you'd like to explore. And he is today a second-year full fellowship student at Princeton University in their PhD program in chemistry, having chosen from pretty much every PhD program in the land.
So he found his passion, and he got
found
to
his
live
passion,
it.
and I believe that the secret sauce of Macaulay is this idea of advising, of opening up horizons, of saying, yes, you love chemistry. What's the range of things you might do with that, and opening up that world for them and advising them.
Jim Carney had the opportunity to speak with an honors program alumni, so let's take a look at that.
I recently met with an alumna of the Lehman Honors Program, Alice Michelle Augustine, who is now Associate Director of Emerging Scholars at Lehman. First of all, tell me a little bit about your educational background.
I started as a student not in an honors program at Lehman. The first professor who reached out to me was Professor Antoinette Blum. She was part of the History and Languages Department. She pushed me to do new things. She pushed me to apply to scholarships like the Jeanette K. Watson Fellowship, and at first I did not apply the first year that she pushed me because I did not think that I was good enough. The very intimate mentoring that I got from all these professors changed my life. And that, I think, is the saving grace of the Lehman Scholars Program and programs like Macaulay, that you have access to people who are there for you, who are there to mentor you, who are there to guide you, who are there so you could stop in their office at any time. They're always there to chat. and to help you as you strive to free yourselves.
Do you see parallels between your own experience and the students that you work with now?
Yes, I still see that gentle tiptoeing towards opportunity. And it is hard to see yourself as a scholar who can achieve big things, because a lot of times you don't have these examples in your inner circle. You tiptoeing towards it. You know, you kind of know you're good, but you're not really sure yet. You know, because you've not been told that the world is within reach all your life. You've been facing challenges. So I see that in my students. When they come to me, one of the biggest things that I push is to keep dreaming. And to keep dreaming because it will fuel your drive. It will keep you motivated when everything seems to work against you.
Do you see yourself in your students?
Every day. Every day I see myself in my students, and I know especially when they're scared, because I was scared every day I was at Lehman. My parents did not graduate from high school. I did not know anything about college.
What does it take to be a successful honors student in CUNY, not just in Lehman, but in CUNY?
A thirst for knowledge. The difference between a student who is part of a program like Macaulay, an LSP, versus a student who's not, is that you are in a small group of peers constantly. You share space with them. You have access to advisors, one-on-one advising. This is a safe space to find yourself. This is a safe space to experiment with ideas, to experiment with skills, to experiment with dreams.
For EdCast, I'm Jim Carney. Now back to Linda and her guest in the studio.
What stands out for you in that interview?
The importance of advising. It's the #1 question that parents never ask. And in fact, when I will talk about advising to prospective families, I can see their eyes glaze over. Like, who cares about advisors? And yet, that is so incredibly important. Having a champion, having a mentor, having advisors who are there. If you're a first-generation college student, none of this is intuitively obvious. What's a major? How do you pick a major? Why, you know, the whole word is off-putting, right?
All the research shows how important advising is for all students. That's true.
So you asked me before, you know, is it fair for some to have more than others? Well, you know, I like to think also that we are in some ways a learning lab for CUNY. And it is because I know the importance of advising, which I didn't know when I started, but I understand that now. And you can bet your bottom dollar that at every single meeting I'm at CUNY, I am talking about the fact that in order for our students to thrive, in order to see our graduation rates get everywhere across CUNY the way they are at Macaulay, we need to devote more resources to this.
Yes, and I think we are seeing that, and a lot of the college prep programs are looking at that, certainly. We're running out of time, so I want to ask you, what are your priorities for Macaulay moving forward?
Oh, we have a bold and exciting strategic plan. One thing I'll mention, because it's very much on my mind, is what does it mean to be a liberal arts college in the 21st century?
Good question.
What are the component parts that we absolutely have to be sure that students leave Macaulay knowing? I'm increasingly convinced that computational thinking skills are part of that critical thinking package that we believe a liberal arts foundation provides our students. And so we're going to be introducing the first computer science program for all of Macaulay students this January, with the aim of piloting it, seeing how we might expand it, and then also talking to our brothers and sisters around CUNY to see how this might be expanded. But I think that's a very important curricular initiative for us.
In the minute that we have left, what would you like folks to know about honors colleges in general and Macaulay in particular?
I'd like them to know that, that these days, the idea of how you choose a college should be very different from how it had been perhaps for parents. They need to be thinking much more seriously about the world that their students will graduate into. They need to be thinking about what that 4-year experience is, and to have the confidence to know that you can start at Macaulay and go anywhere, and that your son and daughter is not left to struggle through that on his or her own, but really to go there in the great company of a community of fellow students and faculty and advisors and mentors. It's a really fantastic college experience.
And it cost a lot less, too.
Oh, did I mention it was free? It's funny, I always leave that out. Thank you for reminding me.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Dean Ann Kirschner of the Macaulay Honors College.
Thank you, Linda.
Please don't go away. We'll be right back with our Ed Bites. Welcome back to this edition of Ed Bites.
How important is gender bias in student math performance? 2 new studies say it may play a crucial role. NPR reports that teacher bias may affect how well girls do in science and math. According to a study conducted in Israel, researchers found that teachers who knew the students they were grading consistently graded girls lower on math tests than teachers who did not know the students or their gender.
Another study conducted in South Korea shows other effects of gender on math performance. In this study, math scores for female students increased when a woman taught the course instead of a man. Researchers at Texas A&M University examined the test results of middle school students in South Korea and found that when girls switched from a male to a female teacher in math, scores rose by 8.5% of a standard deviation compared with the boys' scores.
Any sleepy teen can tell you school starts too early in the day. Now, new studies support the feeling. Researchers from the University of Oxford, Harvard Medical School, and the University of Nevada, Reno recommend that high school start between 10 and 10:30 a.m. and college classes should be held no earlier than 11 a.m. They found that earlier start times interrupt students' circadian cycles, negatively affecting their health and academic achievement.
If you know folks who work in academia, you may have already observed what research confirms. Faculty don't retire, at least not by what is considered the normal retirement age of 67. Dive reports that a survey from TIAA-CREF shows that 49% of tenured faculty members 50 or older say they would like to and expect to work past age 67. Since most tenured faculty cannot be forced to retire, some are staying on through their 70s or even 80s. Reasons vary, from not knowing what to do next to the recognition that their current jobs provide fulfillment and flexibility that are not easily replicated. TIAA-CREF also reports that faculty live longer too. What can I say? It's a good job.
Well, if classes start at 11 a.m., I may never retire. Well, that does it for this edition of EdCast.
Until next time, class dismissed.